Hello and welcome to another episode. Thank you for joining us today. Now, today we're going to be dealing with lessons that we have learned in lockdown. Now, I have to say that we recorded this in lockdown, so please be gracious because what's about to follow is a video that was done while we were all in our various homes over the internet with all the inconsistencies that you get with that. So please do bear with us. We believe that you'll still enjoy it. And we reached out to people here in Northern Ireland and also in the US, Caribbean, various places, and we got a lot of feedback about what people have learned and were learning at that time. And of course, we are now in a situation where we are pretty much coming out of lockdown and life is going to normality. How are we going to implement those lessons that we've learned? So please enjoy as you watch. Hello and welcome to UKUnMute, the podcast that raises the voices on the whispered conversations in our communities. Well, welcome back. And today's podcast, we're continuing a discussion that we started on the last episode, where we were talking about the lessons that we had learned in lockdown. We took the time to go through some of the responses that you had kindly provided us to the questions that we were asking at the time, which was, what have you learned about yourself and about the world in this lockdown season? Now, we promised that we would do a part 2 so that we could dig in a little bit more into some of the responses that you had sent to us. So we're going to do that on this podcast today. It's worth saying, though, that we in the UK at the moment are coming, so I suppose what would be called towards a relaxation of lockdown. It's still not clear, obviously, when all the restrictions would be lifted, but things are starting to ease off a little bit and people are starting to think about what would life be as we start to come out of this. There's some maybe concerns that arise out of that. So we'll probably get into some of that as well as we continue in this podcast today. Well, first of all, let me say that my name is Angela Ifalaja and the ladies at the table with me are Yolande Robertson Green, Natasha Latcham and Raquel McKee. And we're going to get right into it by first of all asking these ladies today. Say hi, ladies.
Hiya.
So I guess I want to ask you before we get into some of these questions, these responses here, how are you coping? How are you dealing with lockdown right now? What's helping you to deal with it in the last couple of months that we've been in this so far? Anybody feel free to just share.
We're all shy. Oh,
Shy.
go ahead.
That's not usual. All right, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead, Yolande.
I think, well, sort of for those of you who would have joined us in the first 2 sessions, in the beginning, we talked about where we were from. And last week, if you followed us last week when we talked about lockdown, I have probably been notoriously known now as the person who really can't wait to get out of lockdown. However, I think for me, in terms of coping mechanism, the fact that I still work from home, that still gives me something to do. But on a more personal level, I mean, I'm from the Caribbean. I'm from St. Vincent and the Grenadines. For me, a lot of it has been surrounding cooking. I don't know if the ladies around the table might be able to identify with that, but I've been able to do a lot of baking, cooking, and to tell you the truth, to be quite frank, I think coming towards the end of the relaxation, I'm really looking forward to it. But obviously, as Angela said, towards the end, we might talk about some of the nervousness that surrounds that. But really, for me, I can't say that I've been able to pinpoint something really magnificent that helped me to cope, other than cooking.
Well, for myself, for personal reasons, I've actually been at home for April, May, a year. So I feel like I've been on a super extended lockdown. But the only difference is I had the freedom to come and go as I please, and there were no restrictions on my movements. So this working from home and all of that doesn't really affect me that much. But there's a difference between choosing to be at home and being told that, it's best that you stay at home for whatever reasons. So my coping mechanisms have been, actually last year, I think about October or November, I started learning French. I did Spanish in high school and first at university, but I decided, well, I'm going to be home for a few months now, so let me find something to do with my time. And I downloaded a language app, and I've been learning French for about, 4 or 5 months now. And I've been very happy with that because I have plans for when they open the airport. You know, we're free to move around. For me to parlez-vous français? Yes, yes.
Oh, very
Just a
good.
little bit, yes. And I've just been taking random online classes and doing things like that. I'm working on my long-awaited book. So for persons who've known me personally for a long time, I've been promising to write this book forever. And now that I have the time, I have been trying to work on that amongst my other things. So I've just been trying to fill my time. But there are times as well when I'm like, why do I want to fill my time? I don't want to fill my time. I just want to do nothing. You know, so
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
that too. It's all about the balance.
yeah. Well, Natasha, you know, no pressure, but one of the responses that we got was that somebody said that they have finished their book, like the book they've been
Oh my
writing for
goodness.
in this lockdown, they've managed to finish. So no pressure
I'm
at all.
feeling warm.
Go ahead, Raquel.
And I'll just add, Natasha, this will make you feel encouraged, okay?
Yes.
Because when I tried to learn French, it was completely hopeless. Everything that I learned was gone down the drain. So maybe you have more success than I did.
Yes.
But good on you for trying to learn it. I suppose for me, what's been helping me to get through lockdown, I would say it's the same as one of the responses I've got from somebody here. My faith has been seeing me through, she said. It's N from Switzerland. And for me, that's been the big deal. My faith has been seeing me through. I've heard a lot of people being very, very concerned about what's happening during this time. Somebody that I know has actually, gone into panic attacks where they never have before. Somebody else I know, their child has gone into panic attacks during this time. And for me, my faith has given me a level of peace that I've been able to be the one offering support and comfort to others. So yeah, that's what's been keeping me going.
Yeah, I certainly second that, Raquel, and just kind of, you know, reading some of the responses here, one of them that was kind of right on point and really touched me. It said, to really appreciate the serenity prayer and daily mantra, God grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. That is so key, you know, in dealing with a situation like this, because there are some things that you just cannot change. So, you know, you can't, stressing about it is not going to make any difference, right? So it's about having that, you know, that calmness in your spirit to know that, you know, this too will pass. And that's something certainly that my, you know, my faith does help me with. And also, I guess for me, life has carried on in the sense that, you know, I'm working from home. I'm no less busy than I was. Now I'm doing schooling from home with my children. I'm doing churching from home, which also, you know, is adding different dimensions. I'm learning new things. Online church is like a whole drama in itself, you know. So it's like, honestly, it's like another world. Become so techie all of a sudden, you know. But you know, so life continues to be full for me. So I guess I don't really have much time, you know, to kind of ponder and worry too much, you know, which I think is a good thing, for me.
And can I just throw in here, you know, I remember, well, just today I was having this conversation with Natasha, and really things like what we're doing right now, our podcast UKUnMute, for me is more of a catharsis. It really brings me to that point where I'm still able to do something. For those of you who don't know, they were actually recording from home and from our various homes at the moment. So it's something that I feel like I can look forward to during lockdown whenever is our recording days. So it really does help.
Yay! Cyber hug.
Very good. All right, ladies, why don't we get into a couple of these responses? We'll just throw some out there, and want to hear your thoughts on this. Here's one that really stood out for me. And this is from M, who's in Jamaica. Said, I'm not very good at doing friendships and relationships. That's a lesson learned. Anybody relate with that?
Me.
A little bit. I have to think about who might be watching. A little bit.
No, that really hit me actually because, and I was having a conversation with somebody today as well actually, who was saying to me, that she's kind of, happy in her own company, and so the lockdown has kind of made things worse in that respect because she's become even more drawn into herself and, even family, not kind of keeping in touch and things like that. So it's almost like I find that it's a conscious effort because you're busy. If you're not busy, maybe it's a different thing, but if you're busy, it becomes even more of a conscious effort, to kind of continue to build on relationships. I don't know, maybe it's maybe just me, maybe I'm just rubbish at it, but I certainly, I kind of related with that comment. Maybe I shouldn't
Yeah.
be admitting that,
Well,
but yeah, that's what it is.
I think the thing about it is that, and this is tricky, we all have lots of different spheres of relationships. We have people who are, bosom buddies or your best friends and your close family. Then you have people who are a bit further off than that, but they're still good friends. And then you have people a bit further off than that who are really good acquaintances. And it's how do you maintain all of those different spheres at a time like this? And I find it, it I had good
Difficult.
intentions at the start. I said, right, every day I'm going to call one person from my list and whatever. And yeah, that lasted probably about a week.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was this sentiment that was going on social media where they're saying, check on your extroverted friends, they're not okay.
Yes.
you know, and then you have the hashtag for introverts winning, so you
I
know.
mean,
Well, I think I'm a
sorry,
bit of an
Kath.
ambivert. No, sorry, go ahead.
No. Do you finish? Because I'm sure I cut you off.
No, that's okay. Well, I was just gonna say, for the ambiverts like myself who are social, but you also take the time to be by yourself. So I'm good either way. If I'm out, I'm fine, but I'm also fine on my own.
Yeah.
But if I get more towards the on my own side, I have to remind myself, hello, there's somebody else in the house. Don't just stay, don't just stay and read book after book after book for like 5 hours. Go down and check go down and check that they're okay. Because I'll be locked in my own little world, like, oh shoot, there's somebody else here. So I have to go and check in. Go ahead, Yolande.
I mean, I suppose I just want to pick up on what Raquel said in terms of levels of friendships, relationships, whatever, because for me, the way that I look at it, I have my friends, one or two, that FaceTime is the way we do it during this lockdown. And I really don't care how I look because those are my bosom buddies. And I've got the friends that text. Simply because the tone, I'm worried about the tone. I'm worried that I sound down and they're going to ask what's wrong, and I really can't be bothered explaining it. So it's all those different, dynamics in playing in friendships. And then there's those that I really do actually call and present the tone as it is, down or up or whatever, because they would understand as well. So really it's the levels. And then of all, I've got my workmates, the ones that face the rant, because we're still working from home. So every now and then we phone each other, rant time, and we say that at the beginning. So there you go. We still try to manage relationships in our own ways.
Yeah.
And then of course there's the little rub that comes from the fact that, well, yes, we're all migrants, the four of us, living in a different society, and there are the demands of family and friends back home, as well as the family and friends that you have here, and the time zone thing.
Yes.
Across the time zone.
Yes, the time zone thing is a big thing for me because outside of my family here through marriage, I have no family here. So everyone else is scattered between the Caribbean, the US, and Canada. So we're talking about 5 to 7 to 8 hour difference. I have a sister in California, and it's almost like 12 hours difference there. So sometimes I have to turn my WhatsApp off at about 10 p.m. Otherwise, it'll be
It's
pinging
constant.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 in the morning. So I have to be conscious of that as well. And then when I'm up bright and early and I want to talk to people, I have to remember, oh no, they're still sleeping and things like that.
Yeah.
So there was a very small window in my day that I can speak to my family and then you have to realize that I have things doing with my day. So you will have a few days go by, and then you have to, oh my goodness, I haven't spoken to my dad since blah blah, and you know. But we just all have to give ourselves some grace because, as I
Yeah.
said in the last podcast, this is something that most of us have never been through, unless you're born in 1918 or something like that. Most of us have never been have never been through something like this. So we just all have to take some time with each other and just, just be gracious.
And
Yeah.
I like that comment, Natasha, because so often we think that graciousness is about how we are to other people, but we also need to be gracious to ourselves and,
Yeah.
just not put too much pressure on ourselves and
Yeah.
not demand too much of ourselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I,
another comment. Sorry,
no, go
Angela,
ahead.
go
Go ahead,
ahead.
Natasha. Go
No,
ahead.
you go ahead. I was going to jump to another comment that stood out, but you finish your thought.
Oh yeah, okay. Just a quick thing that I
Yeah.
saw on Instagram a while back. A post that said, look out for the ones who've not called you, in this time, who've not reached out to you, blah blah blah. And I looked at that, and it seemed to make sense. But then I saw a later post where somebody had kind of like crossed that out and said, no, don't, we're all in a lockdown. We're all
Yes.
trying to survive. Don't be putting it
Yes.
on somebody else,
Yes,
to remember those that never called you.
hold you.
Like,
Amen.
hello,
Amen.
we're
Amen.
all dealing with the
Amen.
same thing. Do you know what I mean? In
Yes.
different ways, in different
Yes.
situations, right? Whereas those who are alone, yes, who are feeling it more, but that doesn't mean that those who maybe have lots of children to deal with and so on, they're dealing with their own thing too. So they'll be like, right, I'm the little black book. So and so never called me. So and so,
Yes.
Somehow,
Yes. I
do you know
saw
what I
the same
mean?
thing, Angela, and it did the same thing to me. I was like, you know what? Yeah, what about those people
True.
that haven't called you? And I was like, no, no, because I'm thinking, but
What
I
about
haven't
people I
called
haven't
you.
called?
Yes, and that's one thing also I've learned about myself. There's some people who are emotionally high maintenance, and it can be very demanding on your mental health and stuff like that in this kind of time. So
Yeah,
you have to also monitor yourself and your mental health and your emotions and be like, well, I'll reach out to that person when I can. And if you're a person who's emotionally high maintenance, you also have to, I keep coming back to grace, but remember that not everybody is like yourself, and they
yeah,
might be coping how they cope, and it doesn't mean that you're far from their mind. It just means that they're just trying to, make it day to day, just as everybody else is trying to do.
yeah, absolutely. Natasha, you had something that you were going to point out there, one of the responses.
Yes, because this sort of ties into something I said. This is Sharon H. in Antigua. She says, having to do a lot of online remote transactions, going digital with a lot of things, especially since I have a phobia of doing everything digital. Sounds like someone on this panel.
Oh, 100% me, Tassa. You know
Yes,
that.
yes. Sharon is afraid of hacking and security issues. Um, and there's always some super hacker who wants to prove he is the best.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, because I've also have to help had to help family members do things like maybe online banking transactions and things that you might have been afraid to tackle before. There's a lot of people who are afraid of tech,
Mhm.
and so we have had to make use of tech now in this time because we can't physically be close. And if you have to do certain things, all these Zoom meetings, which allow us to actually be having this podcast. So is there anybody else who's afraid of tech that found themselves having
You know the thing is,
Yolanda?
Pastor. No, to be honest, look, I keep saying this all the time to my sons. I said, here's the thing with me on phones. For one, all I want to do is say hello and goodbye. Maybe I'm too old. I don't know. But the thing when it comes to online for me, it's not so much being afraid of the tech. It's probably like your Antiguan counterpart sort of suggested. It's just the fears that go along
Security?
with it. And yeah, and for me in particular, clothes shopping for clothing online. Look, I like to try my things on. I like to feel the quality. And then my friends at work goes, but you could always return it. I'm like, who wants to do that? I just want to make a one-shop stop.
well,
One-stop shop. You know
Yes.
what I mean? But
well,
sure, like I'm really struggling, but I've learned and I've ordered a few things online. I've learned a few things, aka we're doing Zoom right now. Whoever thought I'll be doing a
woohoo!
Zoom
Little
meeting?
victories.
Well, I have to throw in my little anecdote about my online shopping experience. Okay,
Oh
my
dear.
son bought me this fantastic, absolutely beautiful red leather jacket
Oh,
just before lockdown. I think maybe even before that. And we waited and waited and waited, and about 8 weeks later, it finally arrived. I was so excited, took it out, put it on, and couldn't breathe.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Now you got to send
That
it
is
back,
the
and it's going
worst.
to take an 8-week delay
Oh
to
my
get it back to
goodness.
us.
Back to them,
Oh
and then
no.
8 weeks to get it back to us.
Oh
Oh.
dear.
Oh dear.
So the long and short of it is I passed it on to somebody who would appreciate it and love it.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
that's
so nice.
nice.
That is good. Actually, you know what? That is a thing, because I bought something. I bought a jumper for my husband just before lockdown. And then we got locked down and all the shops shut and it didn't fit him. So I'm sitting here with this jumper now, which I would have returned, but the shops are shut. By the time we go back, it'll be like several months. And then they'll be telling me, you know,
The 30
it's
days have
28 to
passed.
30.
Yeah.
That's one thing I'm looking at. Like, how are we going to work? How are we going to deal with that one right there? Real issues here.
Use your charm. Use your charm.
Yeah.
Trust me. They've extended lockdown and they'll be extending refund periods.
They
So you'll be
should.
all right.
I'm
Return
going to quote
periods.
you on that
Yeah.
one, Yolande, when I get there.
Oh boy.
I won't say anything. I won't say anything about the bag of things I have here from ASOS and Boohoo then that I have not
Oh dear.
well in Belfast, but I guess no one's going anywhere, so no one's looking at them.
Nobody's buying anything.
So
Yeah,
I'll save
yeah.
them for post lockdown.
Uh-huh. Was there anything else, ladies, that you wanted to point out on any of these responses here? So somebody said, where are we? And I said, new normal, no handshakes, regardless of who it is. I'm already a germaphobe, so that should be easy to do. Anything else on a larger scale, I'm not sure. Too many moving pieces as we speak. Another one said, the new normal, who knows? But I don't think we will ever go back to the way things were. And then this one said, new normal is an old normal. We were always
Oh
taught to
boy.
wash our hands often and not touch anything in a public bathroom. I used to clean my utensils in a restaurant before I use them. I'm okay with not shaking hands, but what is the alternative? So I guess the thought
Well,
is that, you know, some of these new normals should actually be normal anyway, right?
well, I
Yeah.
had a post on what was it? Was it? I think it was on WhatsApp.
Oh, I
And it
saw that, Raquel.
was that
Yes, go ahead.
about Jamaicans and you know, our attitude, how it has been. It says something like this. It says most of us grew up with. Let me see how it says it. With parents and grandparents who had the same rules that is recommended today to help eradicate the COVID-19 virus. So in Jamaican parlance, it was no come sit down in our house with your dirty clothes, but take off the dirty clothes before you come sit down. In English,
right.
change your clothes before you come and sit in the house if you have been outside.
That's right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Yeah, go on.
And I've seen it, Raquel, and honestly, in the Caribbean as a whole, we can all identify with that. And even to
Same
me,
here.
people here describe me as OCD. I don't think I'm OCD. I deep clean my house every Saturday. I've been washing my hands every time, every day. So look, I agree with the person that said, new normal, really old normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, because growing up, one of the first things, you know, first of all, people weren't allowed to come into your house with their outside shoes.
That's right.
You came from home or somebody's visiting you. As soon as they got inside your door, they took their shoes off, or they
Take
took it
off
just
your
outside.
shoes.
Yes, you know, or you'd ask, do I need to take off my shoes? You don't just
Yeah.
come into people's house with your, you know, we don't put our bags on the ground. I've seen people on public buses and trains who
Yeah.
take their handbags off and put it on the
Not on the
floor.
floor.
You know, like my mom and my aunt would have a heart attack. You know, first of all, there's a proverb that when a lady
I
puts
was
her
about to say that.
when a lady puts her handbag on the ground, she's inviting poverty. So we never want to
Exactly.
do that. We never want to do that.
Exactly.
So yes, so outside of the germs, we don't want to invite poverty. But yeah, people come and take their bags or their grocery shopping, put it on the ground, and they come home and put it on the kitchen counter and put it on the desk. Like those are things that we were just taught that I thought was fundamental, but now I'm realizing that not everyone,
It
you
hasn't
know,
been.
no, yeah.
Here's another one from the post. It said, go and go find one book to read and turn outside. In other words, don't come inside and expect to be entertained inside the house. Go outside and
That's
find
right.
something to
You
play
get
with,
creative.
or sit and read a book.
That's right.
You don't have to be, you know, caught on the computers or entertained all the time.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true. Learn a new skill, which many of us have been doing. Some people have been putting up their recipes of banana bread and
Yeah.
different sort of things, myself included. So
Right,
that's
but
good.
Tess, you're a vegetarian, so it'd be interesting for you to share some of your skills. Perhaps when we get to one of our episodes, I'll be cooking from
Yeah,
home.
I did a vegan
Maybe,
banana bread. There was no
Oh,
eggs or milk
nice.
or anything in there. Yeah.
lovely.
There's
Mm.
this comment that I like from Desiree E. from England. Going forward, I intend to keep the slightly less manic day. I'm now finding more of a balance between working and spending time doing things for myself and family that isn't linked to earning money. Listening to how I feel and acting on it. Example, I chose not to work today. Life won't end. What
Mm.
do you think
Good
about
one.
that?
Wow, that's amazing.
That's a good
Yeah.
one.
That's
And I think
amazing.
so many of us are beginning to realize what really matters, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for a lot of us, there's a mentality of like hustle, 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 grind, grind, grind. You know, you have your main job and you try to have all these other side things going on, which, it's not a bad thing, because everybody's looking for extra income and income earners and things like that. But I can see the benefit and the merit to finding balance, because if you work yourself to the bone, what do you have left for your family? What do you have left for yourself? It's all
Yeah.
about balance, and yeah, just maintaining that balance. And I guess you realize it in times like this, just how manic you've been going
Yeah.
when you actually have to sit still.
I
So I
actually have
understand.
a few comments here from a number of different people. One of them was C in USA saying, having to do daily reports to send to my boss, I realized how much I do at work.
Yeah.
Positive and not so positive emotions attached to it. That's revelation.
Yeah.
Another one,
Yeah.
another one, M in Jamaica said, I did not realize how much work I churn out on a regular basis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and
That's
I
very
was looking
true.
at those ones as well, actually, Raquel. There's another one from Switzerland as well along those lines. Is the work I churn out, I'm obliged to be more mindful about how I spend
hmm,
my time.
yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I suppose on the flip side of that, to be quite honest, and maybe, for me, going back to the first person who talked about her days being manic prior to lockdown and realizing that she doesn't need to be doing that. I did say maybe earlier when we talked to maybe in podcast, the second one, that some people like me maybe thrive on adrenaline rush. And I really think that when my days were balancing work, full-time study, coming home, grandchildren, I mean, a grandchild, my family, I actually felt like I was achieving more. And now I have so much time, I'm not achieving what I want to. So I think for me, maybe as an individual, I like that rush.
Do you
Maybe
think
people out
also it's
there,
the structure that it gives you? Because that was one of the comments as well.
maybe it is.
Somebody said that somebody said I need routine and I hate not
Mm,
having it.
Yes,
So
that
I
was
think,
last
Yeah,
week.
maybe it
Yeah.
is.
you
Yeah.
know, we like to think that we can structure our lives and be very disciplined, but sometimes the things that are in place, like you get up, you go to work,
mhm.
you go to school or whatever, all those things help us to actually, structure our lives and be more productive. And if we're in a position
Yeah.
sometimes when all those things are taken away, you're like, okay, I'll just land around for a bit, oh, I've got time, and then you just kind of, so perhaps that's what it
Mhm.
is, right?
Yeah.
Well, there is some of that. There is some of that. Another comment said, once I appreciated the slower pace, being in the lockdown has been a chance for me to recharge. It taught me that I can be just as productive without working myself to the bone and
Mm,
having to account for every minute of the day. That's in Desiree E in England.
mm,
That really just emphasizes the fact that we need to be mindful. We need to just be conscious of how we're using our time, and not, life is not all about working ourselves to the bone.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, sometimes we feel as though the structure and the routines force us down that road, and I suppose it's just making sure to
yeah.
balance it. As Natasha said earlier, it's all about the balance.
Mhm.
Let me just throw this out there, slightly off topic here. The couple here that says, one says reduction in air pollution, right? So in thinking about how's
Yes.
the world change, reduction in air pollution, definitely. And then one said reduction in alcohol consumption. I was like, really? Really?
Really?
I don't know
I
about
That's
that.
suppose,
that's a
well, I
that's a
suppose
first.
maybe that's a person who's probably used to going out and hanging out with friends. I don't know their context, but I suppose maybe it's obviously the opposite for
For a lot of people.
more
I think it's the opposite.
because
Yeah.
I know, because a lot of my workmates have been saying, yes, now I can actually go to work drunk and nobody knows. So I don't know, because I was like, okay. It's like, particularly a friend of mine who will remain nameless because she
yes.
knows who she is, says, now I can do my work with a glass of wine.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
Well, maybe that person that made that comment is a social drinker. There's some people who only drink when they're socializing.
Yeah.
So because they have nowhere to go, they probably just don't drink. But for
Yeah.
people who
Yeah.
are like, oh my goodness, I can't get out. I must have some sort of enjoyment. So I'm going to
Yeah.
have a glass of wine or three, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I guess at home, isn't it? Because you were just there,
Yes.
and particularly if it's somebody maybe that's been furloughed, for example,
Yes.
and you're not so busy, you're just there at home. It's easy to just kind of keep doing that, right? Without any
Mm-hmm.
sort of restriction. The other day I was out and I saw a couple that had taken a taxi to, you know, the to
Pop.
no, it was an off license, and they came out with kind of two big clanking bags of bottles, and that was all there was going into the text. I'm like, oh my days. No, but you know, I think this is going to be one of the issues that coming out of lockdown, maybe one of the things that need to be addressed, you know, around
Yes.
addictions and all that sort of stuff, you know.
Yeah.
Yes.
No judgment from us, but sure,
No,
people
no
are,
No,
judgment.
yeah,
No
no, no,
judgment
it's
at
just
all.
facing
definitely,
the reality that, you know,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, we might
People
have,
just trying
Obviously,
to cope.
yeah,
And
yeah, in different ways.
yes, and I tell
yeah.
you something, Recycle Day is very amusing on my street because
The glass.
all I hear is clank, 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 clank.
I really noticed it
There's the clanking
yesterday.
of bottles. I was like, woo!
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, suppose, you know, because Angela did say in the beginning, we're going to talk about some of the nervousness surrounding, you know, relaxation and things like that. I mean, I suppose for me, I probably could just kickstart that wee bit of conversation here to the end. I suppose for me, coming out of lockdown, I honestly have to say, look, and I said this to Natasha very recently, and I know there's a whole lot of different views about this out there. I mean, for me, I'm not nervous at all. I'm actually looking forward to it. I really want to ditch the mask. I want to breathe the air. I
Let me
really
out.
do. I do. I really want to breathe the air. And, you know, I am really, really looking forward to being able to go back to work. I know they put certain precautions in place. I'm happy with that, but I want to get out. So, look, in terms of being nervous, the really only thing I can say is I'm more nervous about how other people are going to be reacting, maybe to me being out there and just maybe me taking easy breezy approach. So I don't know.
I stopped this morning. I was out for some exercise and saw one of my neighbors, and they were saying, you know, I think when everything is back to normal, people will still be a little bit cautious of coming too close. You know, we're gonna
Yeah.
all
I
just be
think so.
standing back a little bit. So yeah, it's
No, I certainly
interesting.
think so.
Well, there's a meme that I saw that I identify with, and this person was saying that not to be biblical, but was saying when Noah wanted to test to see if the floods were over, he sent out a dove, and he said, "I'm not a dove," and I'm like, "Neither am I." So I think I will just wait. I
I'll go
will
and
wait.
I'll test for you. I'll be the
I
dove
will.
love.
I'll take my time, and I will take my
Actually,
time.
it's funny
And
you say that, Natasha, because I was listening to this live. It was actually a Zoom discussion as well, actually, but it was broadcast on Facebook. And one of the points that had been raised, it was a pastor that was running, Pastor Marjorie in England, very sort of dynamic woman. And she had said, she'd used the analogy of Noah and said that, do you know that after the flood had ended, you know, so basically Noah, you know, gone into the ark, kind of like a time of seclusion as well, to protect yourself, go into the ark, keep you safe in there. And then when the flood was over, that he didn't come out
Didn't want to come
immediately.
out.
They
Yeah.
waited, it was almost a year. You know, the flood only lasted
Oh
for like 40
boy.
days. But actually,
yes,
the coming out process was so systematic, so slow, so considered. And she was talking about lessons to learn from that, like really taking the time to take in what in your world has changed since you've been in this arc, right? And how you're now going to engage with the world that you're going into. You need to take it slow. You need to not try and rush to get this done and get that done, but really process and look at people, look at your relationships. Things might have shifted, right?
Yes.
And I suppose that's the whole point of lessons from lockdown. You know, it's us, you know, spending the time to start to appreciate how things have shifted and changed while we've been in this space, and to begin to reassess how we're going to do things when we move forward.
Yeah, it's not going to be business as usual.
No, and I think that every dark moment or every moment of chaos there's a lesson in there for us to learn. So I think instead of just rushing out to see, you know, just to take things back to business as usual, we need to make sure we learn the lessons, not just from lockdown, but from this pandemic, you know, because obviously I think there's lessons there for us to learn. If we don't learn the lessons, hopefully we will not find ourselves here again. So I just think that we should just take this time to reflect as well and think about, as Raquel said, our relationships and just the way we've been living our lives, our health and things like that. Because one of the things that struck me is how much health, you know, the state of your health affects, you know, what could happen to you in this, you know, in this pandemic. And that's probably something we should all think about as well going forward.
Yeah. Well, we hope you enjoyed that, and probably some of those things resonated with you. So thank you for watching. Next episode, we're going to be discussing Black Lives Matter issues. Now, we again had reached out to the local community here in Northern Ireland, and we asked people certain questions that they responded to. I think you'll find that the discussions and the insights that come out of that would be quite enlightening. So we hope that you will join us next time. Thank you.